What's up, party people, and welcome to Stoniecast number 141, Season 5, Episode 3 of Thoughts and Hunches, Making Money in Bunches and Sucker Punches. It's your boy Stony coming back at you for the 141st time. Still can't believe it. And I'd like to welcome all of my fellow lowlifes, scumbags, hoodlums, shady characters, scoundrels, heathens, altar boys with unhealthy relationships with their priests, hustlers, wise guys, people that give themselves nicknames and speak in the third person, foul-mouth raging alcoholics, MLB players that have got into a fight with Bryce Harper. You know who you are. Cheats, disasters that take pride in a $4 profit on the WNBA, gangsters, fienders with abusive language, and degenerates. Basically, let's face it, anybody with a massive gambling problem. If you're new to the show, hey, you probably fit into one or a few of those categories, so welcome, because you're now one of us. One of us. One of us. One of us. Gooba gobba, one of us. We accepted one of us. You know, sometimes you get a little carried away. Hey, make sure to hit the subscribe button right down here in the lower right-hand corner. That way you can get notified every time I put out a new video. To spread the word's also very easy. Just tell other degenerates and scumbags you know, crews, to go to YouTube and enter Thoughts and Hunches in the search bar. That'll take you directly to my page, so that way you can get dialed in to everything that I give you and you'll get notified every week. Also, if you're new and you don't know what's what with this channel, it's college and pro football winners, MLB playoff winners, and college basketball winners. The books don't expect a guy like me to deliver this many winners, right? I'm an outlier and I'm a disruptor. That's what I do. I'm like the Beastie Boys. I'm a disruptor.
Step inside the party, disrupt the whole scene!
Non-stop, every single week, I give them to you, right? I go to the mattresses and get the info for you every week in order to get you to the window with a ticket to cash. Now, before I get to the picks, as usual, I have some thoughts.
Give me all you got! Listen, give me all you got!
Yep, never gets old. Cleveland Browns quarterback, Deshaun Massage Watson, just had his contract restructured late last week, which makes this current deal even more head-scratching than the one he signed a year and a half ago. Here's a quick refresher on how to ruin a franchise that has already been broken for close to 60 years. Cleveland signed Watson to an unprecedented, fully guaranteed, 6-year, $230 million deal, although he was awaiting suspension for numerous sexual assault and misconduct allegations. Incredible, right? That's nothing. This contract was so big and the Browns needed money to pay rookies and free agents, they restructured his deal last year in the form of converting his pay to signing bonuses, and his cap hit was $19 million last year with $64 million this year and the next 2 seasons as well. Now, according to Over the Cap, they restructured it again last week, and it will see $45 million of Watson's salary cap space this year converted to a signing bonus again, giving them $35 million in new cap space, and now leaves the Browns with more than $62 million in cap space, which is by far and away the most in the NFL. And they're going to need that next year, because next year the Browns are projected to be $66 million over the cap, behind only the Saints. Why? Because now his cap hit for 2025 and 2026 is $73 million each year, plus a $27 million in void dead cap for 2027. What this all means now is that Cleveland decides to cut Watson in 25. They'll be liable for $172 million in dead cap hits and $100 million if they cut him in 26. The record for the most dead money was the $85 million that Denver had to eat when they released Russell Wilson last year. The Browns were 5-1 in the games that Watson started last year, though he didn't play well, and he still missed 11 games. But his contract virtually assures you, Cleveland fans, shout out to DJ and Jeff, that you're screwed for the foreseeable future. But then again, I mean, let's face it, you should be used to that now. Sorry, guys. I love you guys, but your team is drowning. That's exactly what they're doing. Next story. Brian Kelly and Louisiana State. That's right. They're Louisiana State, not Louisiana. Louisiana, because they lose.
Oh!
That's right. It's what they do. The pounding of the fist on the table and the post-game presser is the third worst acting job that Brian Kelly has done since he was hired in Baton Rouge. The second is the ridiculous dance moves he tried to display with his recruits. And number one is clearly the phony accent at his introduction when he famously talked about his family. He had it made in South Bend, let's face it. Every year he was there, his Notre Dame teams were in the mix, and they were improving. So he left a spot where he was revered to try and win a national championship in Baton Rouge. Well, quote me on this. He won't. Not going to happen. He's not going to win a national championship there. If I'm wrong, I'll own it, and I'll say I was wrong. But he's becoming a freaking circus act down on the bayou. And he's now lost 3 straight season openers. Now, don't get me wrong. LSU will win their next 4 games, beginning with this week's real tough test against Nichols. Who? Yeah, Nichols. Yeah, I had to Google them too because I'd never freaking heard of them. Then they've got a few more cakewalks, and they'll be 4-1, while LSU fans are saying they're back. LSU fans are almost as bad as Miami fans. Miami beat a really bad Florida team, and oh my God, they're back. They're going to win the whole thing, right? Please, Miami, LSU. It's just, ridiculous. I'm on the record here as saying LSU will lose at least 3 more games and finish 8-4. Is that what $10 million a year gets you in Baton Rouge? 8-4? Pathetic. Freaking clowns. Here's my last story. This year, $36 billion, that's billion with a B, will be wagered on the NFL alone legally. Now, I know you Californians don't understand the concept of legalized gambling and still use bookies, and that's fine. But legally, 36 billion will be bet on the NFL. Hey, Gavin Newsom and all the other state governors that won't allow it because of a negative or criminal element, you lost. Deal with it and legalize it in your state. It's like marijuana or gay marriage. If you're against it, get over it. You lost. They're legal now. And that's exact 36 billion just on the NFL? Come on, right? I mean, this is crazy. Now, if you're in a gay marriage, you smoke weed and are a degenerate gambler, shit, you just hit the trifecta. Living in a state where it's legal is nice, believe me. I don't have to drive 3 hours to another state just to get down. 36 billion just on the NFL. Wow, still can't believe that. Next week, I will debut my own personal NCAA power rankings, right? And it's just on field play, not what they're supposed to be or what the AP says or other polls. It's just what I've seen, and I'm just going to give you my NCAA power rankings. So make sure to keep an eye out for that. As for the week that was last week, the 2-5 opening week that led to comments from LSU fans living in Southern Miss is already gone and forgotten. I mean, it's amazing what an 11-5 week does. Yeah, 11-5. No comments. No good shit, Stoney. Nice hit. Keep it up. Nothing. Crickets. But that shows more about you than me. So, last week, 11-5. 68.75%. How you like me now. Overall for the season, 2 weeks, 13 wins, 10 losses. 56.52% after the mind-numbing 28% in week 1. Just remember that all these picks are 100% free. So for all the touts that are giving you 75 to 80% winners, you're full of shit. You're lying. Plus, you're charging for those picks. With me, just come to YouTube every week and I'll drop my plays on you for free. You ready? Away we go. NFL Week 1 begins tomorrow night at 8:20 Eastern on NBC at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, where the two-time defending Super Bowl champion Chiefs begin their quest for a three-peat as 3-point home chalk over the Ravens, and the total is set at 46.5. It's a rematch of last year's AFC Championship game. Both teams have had busy off seasons, adding and dropping. And as Baltimore, last season's number 1 seed, they're trying to overtake Kansas City, not just tomorrow, but in January as well. Lamar Jackson's had trouble with Kansas City in his NFL career. He just can't seem to get over that hump, right? And he's played badly. KC's star power will be on full display. But like last season's opener in which they lost at home to Detroit, I see Baltimore doing it again this time around with the addition of Derrick Henry to what's already the NFL's best rushing offense. Let's face it. Give me the Ravens here on the road, catching 3 and with a sprinkle on the money line.
Sprinkle me, man.
Yep, he's back too. 40's always in the picture. We also have Friday night NFL action this week. For the first time in 50 years, NFL action is on Friday night, right, during the regular season. And it's going to go at 8:15 Eastern on Peacock at Corinthians Arena in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Yes, as the Eagles are 3-point favorites over the Packers, and the total's 48.5. Philly was the team to beat in the NFC until a brutal collapse down the stretch last season led to an early first-round exit from the playoffs. Rumors of tension between head coach Nick Sirianni and quarterback Jalen Hurts are said to have been a huge factor in their late season decline. They did add Saquon Barkley to their already prolific running game, but their defense is going to have their hands full with Green Bay and quarterback Jordan Love, who he was arguably the best quarterback in the league in the second half of last season. The Pack know they can't lose ground to Detroit, as the two of them will be fighting for supremacy in the NFC North all season. Expect crazy uniforms and expect the unexpected in Sao Paulo. Give me the Packers and give me the points in the jungle. We've also got a couple Friday night NCAA matchups, and we'll get started at 7 Eastern on ESPN2 at Gerald J. Ford Stadium in Dallas, the Big D, as 2-0 SMU is an 11.5-point home chalk over 1-0 BYU. Excuse me. SMU struggled in their opener 2 weeks ago, but they managed to sneak by Nevada before blasting someone called Houston Christian last week, while BYU was busy pounding Southern Illinois. SMU begins their first ACC schedule in 2 weeks with some tough trips, while BYU starts their Big 12 schedule in 2 weeks with 3 of their next 4 opponents all ranked. SMU wins, but I'm on BYU with the points here. Cougars plus 11.5. Also Friday night at 9 Eastern on FS1 at Martin Stadium in Evanston, where 1-0 Northwestern is a 2.5-point home favorite over 1-0 Duke. While Northwestern was busy struggling to a 13-6 win over Miami, Ohio, Duke was taking out Elon 26-3. Now it's time to play some real competition, and even though both teams don't start their conference play for another couple weeks, it's good to see an ACC school match up with a Big Ten school. Neither team's a playoff contender this year, so they're both just looking to stack W's to become bowl eligible. I like Duke here on the road, catching 2.5. Moving on to college football Saturday, and we'll get it all started at noon Eastern on ACC Network at the building formerly known as the Carrier Dome in upstate New York, where 23rd ranked Georgia Tech is a 3-point road chalk at 1-0 Syracuse. Tech had their impressive win over Florida State in Ireland 2 weeks ago and followed it up by taking out Georgia State last week. Syracuse knocked off Ohio U, setting up their first ACC contest of the season. With the betting public all aware of Tech, I'm going to go the other way here. I have to. I'm going to take Syracuse +3 with a sprinkle.
Sprinkle me, man. Sprinkle me.
You just have to. Saturday, noon Eastern on ABC at Boone Pickens Stadium in Stillwater. 17th ranked and 17th ranked Oklahoma State is a 7.5-point favorite against 1-0 Arkansas. Give Okie State props for scheduling a very dangerous FCS champion in South Dakota State last week and knocking them off. Arkansas blasted Arkansas Pine Bluff to the tune of 70-0. I like Arkansas and I like their power running game, but this Oklahoma State team has a shot at stealing the Big 12 this year with no Texas or no Oklahoma. So I'll take the Cowboys, especially at home, and I'll lay the 7.5. The game of the day goes at noon Eastern on Big Fox from the Big House in Ann Arbor, as third-ranked Texas comes to town as 7-point road favorites at number 10, Michigan. Texas beat down Colorado State 52-0 last week, and Michigan took out Fresno State 30-10, but didn't cover in Sharon Moore's head coaching debut. Yeah, that was one of my many winners last week, LSU fan. You're welcome. Hey, thanks, Stony. Good job. Good shit. No, nothing. Michigan quarterback Davis Warren is good, but he's got a lot of growing to do. So they're going to run the ball. In the meantime, the Wolverines are still built on defense and trying to run the ball. Though without Jim Harbaugh, it gets tougher. Michigan lost everyone that matters from last season. Anybody that mattered at all, right? And the only reason they're ranked at number 10 is because they're Michigan. They're headed back to mediocrity now. That's exactly where they're headed. Texas has the quarterback in Quinn Ewers, who is a Heisman favorite. I'm still not sold on Steve Sarkisian and his wife. And while his team is loaded and are pretty much assured a spot in the playoffs, I think the Horns have too much firepower here for Michigan to keep up with. It's really difficult to take a road favorite in the Big House, but that's precisely what I'm doing. Longhorns -6.5. I do not like Michigan in this spot at all. Noon Eastern on ESPN at Nippert Stadium in the Natty. We got the River City rivalry as 1-0 Cincinnati's a short 1.5-point home favorite over 1-0 Pittsburgh. Cincy won in Pittsburgh last season as both schools finished 3-9. Last week, Pitt beat up Kent State while Cincinnati took out Towson. I'm not sold on Pitt, but I do see Scott Satterfield beginning to turn the Bearcats around quicker than Pitt. So give me Cincy at home and lay the 1.5. Noon Eastern on ESPN at Yeoman Stadium in the Big Easy. 17th ranked Kansas State comes to town as 9.5-point road chalk at Tulane. Both teams cruised last week over shit schools, and now they each have their first big test of the season. Tulane's not the same team they've been the last 3 years, but they're still very dangerous. K-State is loaded, however, and a true threat to win the wide-open Big 12. It's a tough road trip, and it's hard to lay double digits on the road in New Orleans, but I like the Cats here. Give me K-State -9.5. Saturday, 3:30 Eastern on Big Ten Network at SECU Stadium in College Park. 1-0 Maryland is an 8.5-point home favorite versus 1.5 Michigan State. Maryland blew out Connecticut last week while Michigan State struggled to get by Florida Atlantic, I like Maryland's versatility and Billy Edwards Jr. taking over at quarterback for Taulia Tagovailoa should be seamless. But give me the Terps at home and lay the big number. Saturday, 3:30 Eastern on CBS at Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City. Do the wave. Wave to the children at the Shriners Hospital, or the Children's Hospital. Iowa City. 21st ranked Iowa is a 3-point home favorite over Iowa State in the annual Battle for the Cy-Hawk Trophy. Both schools beat FCS opponents in week 1, with Iowa shutting out Illinois State 40-0 and State knocking off North Dakota 21-3. This should be a good matchup, and scoring will be at a premium And I thought about taking the under, but it's just too damn low. So I'm going to take the field goal and roll with the Cyclones +3. Saturday, 3:30 Eastern on ABC. We got our first taste of Saturdays in the South with the 3 Fs. Faith, family, and football. At Kroger Field in Lexington, 1-0 Kentucky is a 10-point home favorite over 1-0 South Carolina. Kentucky shut out Southern Miss last week, 31-0, while South Carolina struggled, but ultimately took out Old Dominion 23-19. Now they begin their SEC schedules in the Bluegrass State, and while I think Kentucky can score a few, they can scare a few teams this year. You know, that's going to happen. This is just too many points to lay. So I'm going to take South Carolina catching 10 on the road. Saturday, 3:30 Eastern on ESPN2 at Jordan-Hare Stadium on the Plains. 1-0 Auburn's a 13-point home favorite over 1-0 Cal. Auburn beats Alabama A&M 73-3 last week, while Cal took out UC Davis 31-13 in 2 more games that just proved last week truly meant nothing. Last season, Auburn traveled to Berkeley and just barely knocked off the Golden Showers of Cal. But this time on the Plains, it's War Eagle all day long. Lay the points and watch Auburn cruise. 3:30 Eastern on Saturday at Big Fox at Rice-Eccles Stadium in Salt Lake Stony. Number 11 Utah is a 14.5-point home chalk over Baylor. Utah shut out Southern Utah 49-0 last week, while Baylor was busy taking out Tarleton State 45-3. Despite the blowout, Baylor head coach Dave Aranda's squad is just not nearly the same as they were just a couple years ago. Kyle Whittingham might have one of his best Utah teams this year, with 137-year-old Cam Rising leading the way at quarterback in his 78th year of eligibility. Give me Utah, lay the big number, and watch the surprise blowout while the public backs Baylor. Saturday, 7 Eastern on ESPN, Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa. 4th-ranked Alabama is a 31.5-point home favorite over South Florida. Bama began the Kalen DeBoer's era with a 63-0 pasting of Western Kentucky last week, while South Florida beat up Bethune-Cookman 48-3. This one gets ugly. South Florida isn't terrible, but I see Bama quarterback Jalen Milroe going off here at home. Might even be another 63-0 shutout. The only problem is the possibility of a look ahead for the Crimson Tide, as their next 2 opponents are at Wisconsin, then home versus top-ranked Georgia. I still don't see it, though. Roll Tide, -30.5. Saturday, 7:30 Eastern on ABC at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. 14th-ranked Tennessee is 7.5-point road favorites at number 24 North Carolina State. With Big Orange Nation coming to town, this game was moved to Charlotte, the site of the Carolina Panthers, to a neutral site. NC Raleigh, Charlotte, not very far. It'll still be a home game for NC State, but there'll be a lot of orange in the stands because it's not a far drive either from Knoxville. NC State beat Western Carolina 38-21 last week, while Tennessee starters were benched at halftime during their 69-3 waxing of Chattanooga. Vols quarterback Nico Iamaleava is a legit Heisman candidate, and he's going to put up monster numbers in head coach Josh Heupel's super fast, high-octane offense. But NC State has weapons and enough talent to slow the game down and keep the Vols off the field long enough to keep this one close and snatch the cover, possibly even through the back door. Wolfpack +7.5. Saturday night, 7:30 Eastern on NBC at Memorial Stadium in Lincoln. Nebraska, 7.5-point home favorite over Colorado. Even though they're in different conferences, I like the fact that these 2 old rivals are playing each other. Nebraska took down UTEP last week 40-7, while Colorado struggled, but ultimately beat North Dakota State 31-26. Last year, the Buffs knocked off the Huskers in Boulder in week 2 during the Deion Sanders hype tour, where everybody was falling in love with him. Well, that's back again, even though nobody's really taking them all that seriously this year. Nebraska's a good team that can make some noise in the Big Ten this year. But Deion's son, quarterback Shadur Sanders, is putting up ridiculous numbers and will have enough to catch the back door. Nebraska wins, Colorado covers. Saturday night, 10 Eastern on Peacock at Autzen Stadium in Eugene. 7th-ranked Oregon is a 19.5-point home chalk versus Boise State. Good game, good matchup here. Oregon struggled last week, putting away Idaho in a 24-14 win, while Boise State was in a shootout with Georgia Southern that the Broncos eventually won 56-45. Star power's on display here, and as much as I like Oregon at home and all season, this is too many points. I like Boise State's rushing attack. Give me the Broncos to score enough to cover the 19.5. Saturday night, 10 Eastern on Big Fox at Martin Stadium in Pullman, Washington State is 1.5-point home favorites over Texas Tech. Wazoo beat up Portland State 70-30 last week, while Texas Tech, they escaped an overtime thriller 52-51 over Abilene Christian when Abilene's 2-point conversion in overtime failed. What a game that was, though. I wasn't watching it, but I saw it. Freaking crazy. With only 2 teams in the Pac-2 this year, and even though Cam Ward is left for South Beach, I like the Cougars here at home, -1.5. Saturday night, 10:30 Eastern on ESPN at Mountain America Stadium in Tempe, Arizona State, 6.5-point home chalk versus Mississippi State. ASU took down Wyoming 48-7 in one of my many winners last week. You're welcome. And Mississippi State pounded Eastern Kentucky 56-7. Both teams had rough seasons last year, as ASU was 3-9 and the Bulldogs were 5-7. Both teams are slowly improving, but this is just too many points. Give me Mississippi State catching 6.5 on the road in the desert. And lastly, we got the first degenerate special of the year. For those of you that are new to the show, the degenerate special is simple, or the late night get right. It's the last game on the board Saturday night to either make up your losses from Saturday in order to have enough to play on Sunday or to go all out and double your money. This one goes at 11 Eastern Saturday on the Big Ten Network at the LA Memorial Coliseum in La La Land, where 13th ranked USC is 28.5-point home chalk over Utah State. Utah State beat up Robert Morris last week, as they were supposed to do, and USC took down LSU in Vegas on Sunday night. Just another one of my many winners from last week. Teddy, tell him.
Pay him. Pay that man his money.
This is a big number to lay. Even though they're in La La Land, USC can score because it's what Lincoln Riley does. Utah State is no slouch after winning 6 games last season in the improving Mountain West. SC wins, but Utah State gets the cover in this season's first degenerate special to close out college football's week 3. Shout out Cam, Lugo, degenerate special. Moving on to our first NFL Sunday. This is the first NFL Sunday of the season, Let's get it all started. 1 Eastern on Fox at the Mercedes-Benz Dome in Atlanta, as the Falcons are 3-point home favorites over the Steelers, and the total's 40.5. A lot has been made of the money that the Falcons have been throwing around this offseason, and that has seen their win total go from 5 wins to 9. Kirk Cousins takes over at quarterback and has plenty of weapons at his disposal, including feature back Bijan Robinson, who will be the workhorse for the Falcons. Pittsburgh offseason drama concerned 2 names, Russell and Fields. Head coach Mike Tomlin, who's still probably the best soundbite in NFL history, just named Russell Wilson his starter last week over Justin Fields, but I don't think it's going to matter. The Steelers will run the ball and play hard-nosed defense. That's what they do. That's what they've always done. The under is tempting here, and so are the Steelers. But the Falcons are still the unknown. They've been bad for so long, it's hard to see them make the leap to a playoff team. But it's absolutely possible. Give me Pittsburgh and the points to make it 3 straight NFL dogs to start the season. With a sprinkle. Kind of have to.
Sprinkle me, man.
Just have to. Sunday, 1 Eastern on CBS at Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park. Buffalo, 6.5-point home chalk over Arizona, and the total is set at 48. Buffalo continues to dominate the AFC East in the post-Tom Brady era, but they haven't reached the Super Bowl yet. Josh Allen gets all the headlines along with all the money, but the Bills need to prove that they can win in January. Arizona, on the other hand, needs to prove they can win anytime. Now fully committed to Kyler Murray, which was a good move, they rewarded him with the selection of Marvin Harrison in the draft back in April, and it shouldn't take long for Harrison and Murray to develop a rapport. Can the Cardinals run the ball? No. Can the Bills run the ball? Also no. I'm on the Bills here to win easily at home to kickstart the season, so lay the 6 and dance with Buffalo. Sunday, 1 Eastern on Fox at Soldier Field in the Windy City. Chicago is a 4.5-point home favorite over Tennessee, and the total's 45.5. Big things are expected in Chicago this year after the selection of USC quarterback Caleb Williams as the spring's top pick. But those that are praising the Bears fail to see that Detroit and Green Bay are also in the NFC North, and both are better. The Bears haven't won anything in a very long time, and the question is, how long is it going to take before Williams becomes frustrated like every other Chicago quarterback before him in their history? Tennessee's a mess also. They got a lot younger as head coach Mike Vrabel is gone, quarterback Ryan Tannehill's gone, and future Hall of Fame back Derrick Henry's gone. Will Levis is now tasked to be the savior here in Music City, and while he showed flashes last season, he also showed some serious growing pains. I don't like either one of these teams this season. Neither one's going to make the playoffs, and neither one's going to win 7 games. But the excitement of Williams at home for the opener tells me to take the Bears and lay the 4.5. Sunday, 1 Eastern on CBS at Paul Brown Stadium in Cincinnati. The Bengals are huge 9.5-point favorites over the Patriots, and the total's 40.5. New England will not win 4 games this year. Book it. Just gonna, they're awful. That's just how it is. But can they cover 9.5? Maybe if they were at home, but not in Cincinnati with the return of Joe Burrow. This one gets ugly early. Bengals minus 9.5 is approaching lock status because you can lock it in that the Pats will be the worst team in the NFL all season. Sunday, 1 Eastern on CBS at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. The Texans come in as 2.5-point road favorites at the Colts, and the total's 48.5. Houston comes in with expectations through the freaking roof after they shocked the betting public into a playoff appearance that included a blowout win over Cleveland in the wild card round before Baltimore put them in their place in the division round last year. The majority of their success was owed to the huge rookie season of quarterback C.J. Stroud. Now he's got weapons. In the last game of the regular season last year, Houston won in Indianapolis 23-19 to secure a playoff spot when the Colts, on the doorstep to a win, dropped a 4th down screen pass. That was the Colts without quarterback Anthony Richardson, who beat Texas in Houston in week 2, 31-20. Well, Richardson's back now after missing most of his rookie season due to injury. And while the public is all over the Texans here, not me. I'm on the Colts. Give me the points with Indy at home and a little sprinkle on the money line.
Sprinkle me, man.
Sunday, 1 Eastern on CBS at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, South Florida. The Dolphins are 3-point home chalk over the Jaguars, and the total set at 49.5. Midway through last season, the Jags had the best record in the AFC before Trevor Lawrence became human. The wheels fell off, leaving the Jags out of the playoffs. Miami became a trendy pick as they got hot late, but they lost to Buffalo, costing the Finns the AFC East title. The next week, they were literally frozen out in the playoffs as Kansas City. just took them out. Miami has the juice and the buzz, while everyone has lost faith in Jacksonville. Normally, I'd be all over Jayville here with the betting public on Miami, but I like the Fins too here. So lay the field goal and watch Miami hang 40 on the Jags. Sunday at 1 Eastern on Fox at the Superdome in the Big Easy. The Saints are 4.5-point home chalk over the Panthers, and the total's 40.5. Nap time. This is your time to take a nap during this game. Because if you're watching this game, odds are you got money on it. Like me, because I will. New Orleans probably has the best defense in the NFC South. And they see a shot to win the division this year in Derek Carr's second year at quarterback after winning 4 of 5 to close out the season and end the season on a high note, sneaking into the playoffs. Carolina was a mess last year and are clearly the worst team in the NFL. Were the worst team in the NFL, not anymore. Last year's top pick, Bryce Young, needs to show progress in year 2 after a disastrous rookie season. Now, with head coach Dave Canales, I think he will. I think he's going to show progress. Canales is an offensive guy, but Canales has his hands full. And a trip to the Big Easy to start the season is not a good look. Saints win. Panthers cover. Give me Carolina catching 4.5. Sunday, 1 Eastern on Fox at Snoopyville in East Rutherford. The Vikings are 1-point road favorites at the Giants, and the total's 41.5. The catastrophe that is the New York Giants got worse from last year after losing Saquon Barkley to their rivals in Stoniecast. How a good coach like Brian Daboll believes that Daniel Jones is the answer is still beyond me. Danny Dimes is awful. He just is. He's not good. And anybody that calls him Danny Dimes ought to be assassinated because he doesn't throw dimes. He belongs in a bakery selling turnovers. Sunday, he's matched up against Sam Darnold. Oh, there's another one. Yes, that's Sam Darnold. An awful quarterback gets the starting nod in Minneapolis while rookie J.J. McCarthy recovers from injury and learns the ropes. Add it all up, and we got 2 bad teams trying to show how bad they are. In the stinker of the week, give me the Giants at home and take the point. Sunday at 4 Eastern on CBS at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood. Always up to no good. The Chargers are 3.5-point home favorites versus the Raiders, and the total's 41.5. The Chargers begin season 1 of the Jim Harbaugh era behind the 8 ball. With the money the Spanos family spent on quarterback Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh, they allowed all of Herbert's weapons to vanish. They're gone. Harbaugh likes to run the ball, and he proved that by poaching Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins from Baltimore to solidify his love of a rushing attack. They're going to run the ball, and they're going to run the ball well. Just a question of how soon. The Raiders are the giant mystery of the NFL, as even with all their money, they decided on Antonio Pierce, head scratch, as their head coach, and Gardner Minshew, head scratch the other side, as their quarterback, despite plenty of both candidates that Mark Davis decided to pass on. Mark Davis's head, forget it. It's just, you can't even forget it. The only good thing the Raiders have going for them right now is that they own the Chargers. Not here, though. Not in Harbaugh's opener in La La Land. Give me the Chargers and lay the points. Sunday, 4 Eastern on CBS at Lumen Field in Seatown. The Seahawks are 5.5-point home favorites over the Broncos, and the total is set at 42.5. After a miserable start in Denver, head coach Sean Payton was clearly struggling.
I couldn't care less about the team struggling.
Tell him, Joe. Tell him, Joe. Thanks, Joe. But they got hot last year until a demoralizing loss to shitty-ass New England derailed their comeback. Russell Wilson is gone, and rookie Bo Nix is Peyton's newest project to guide a team, but it's the defense that is Peyton's biggest issue. Heading to the Pacific Northwest is never easy, and with 37-year-old rookie head coach Mike McDonald at the helm after Pete Carroll's long term in Seatown, I don't see it getting any better soon. I just don't. McDonald's going to have their defense good, quick, because that's what he does. But his support of Geno Smith is still not going to score any points with me. These are two teams in flux, and while I anticipate Seattle to blitz the hell out of Nix to test his beanbag or how heavy they are, I like Denver with the points to keep it close. Seattle wins. Broncos cover. Denver plus 5.5. Sunday, 4:25 Eastern on Fox at what's now known as Cleveland Browns Stadium. The Cowboys are 2.5-point road favorites at the Browns, and the total's 42.5. It's rare to have a trap in week one, but this one's got the makings. All the public money here is on Dallas, and it's only 2.5. It's also on the over. But those are the people that don't understand the meaning of the word defense, and Cleveland has it. For all the offseason talk that ESPN brain fucks us with, sorry about that. Are we on the air? Anybody hear that? Sorry, that one kind of slipped out. But that's what ESPN does, right? ESPN is nonstop, and they talk about Dak Prescott, Jerry Jones, CeeDee Lamb. The story of this game is the Browns' defense pounding away at the Dallas offensive line that seems to get weaker every offseason. That's just, Massage Watson is still the great unknown, right? He's got the bum shoulder, except for his salary. That's not unknown. But he will do enough, along with Cleveland's running game right here, to keep the Dallas defense off balance. Browns plus 2.5 and a sprinkle on the money line.
Big timer.
40.
Sprinkle me, man.
Sorry, sometimes it's just a little necessary, And that's going to be just enough to send ESPN into a frenzy come Monday if Cleveland wins this game. That's, Also, that's the first reverse turf home underdog this season. And I'll be tracking them throughout the year. A reverse turf home underdog, quick tutorial, is when the home team is an underdog and plays on a different surface than the visitors. For 50 years, this angle has hit at a 68.4% rate. So I'll be checking that out. Keep an eye out for it. Sunday, 4:25 Eastern on Fox at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa. The Buccaneers are 3.5-point home favorites over the Commando Skins, and the total is 43.5. The Skins, I still call them that, begin the Jaden Daniels era as the Heisman Trophy winner tries to save an irrelevant franchise. Washington's a mess, and Daniels is going to be fine, but there's lots of holes in this roster. Tampa rewarded Baker Mayfield's breakout season last year with a very nice contract as the Bucs look to possibly steal the NFC South when no one else is looking. After a playoff win over Philly, the Bucs were beaten by Detroit, and the pieces are in place to make another run this season. Jaden Daniels will get the headlines, but the Bucs get the win and the cover. Tampa minus 3.5. Sunday night, 8:20 Eastern on NBC at Ford Field in the Motor City. Detroit is a 3.5-point home favorite over the Rams with the total at 51. Two teams with lots of hype meet up for another insufferable round of Goff versus Stafford hype. The Rams snuck into the playoffs last year and found themselves in Detroit in the short end of a really good game. Detroit then beat Tampa and had the 49ers on the ropes in the NFC title game, but bad coaching clearly cost them down the stretch. Aside from the obvious Goff versus Stafford storyline, both these teams are going to be looking up at San Francisco again. In this one, the crowd will be out of control in day trois, as expectations are now for a Super Bowl berth. But the Rams are no slouch. I also don't think they're not nearly as good as they're hyped up to be. They might even finish third in the NFC West if Seattle has a year. But neither are the Lions. Everyone's got the Lions winning the Super Bowl this year. Not going to happen. Nope. Saying it here. The Lions or the Rams, neither one of these teams, will win the Super Bowl. Quote me. When they start season 0-1, you're already in a hole. But I'm on the Ram chops here. In a high-scoring affair, give me La La Land plus 3.5. And finally, on Monday night, 8:15 Eastern on ABC at 501 Gene Stadium in Santa Clara, the Niners are 3.5-point home chalk over the Jets, and the total's 43.5. The 49ers are a fixture at the top of the NFC, playing in the NFC Championship game every season, in the Super Bowl twice in the last 5 years, but they've yet to win it. Once again, they're the team to beat, and now with everyone signed and ready to go, including Trent Williams, they get the honor of hosting the Aaron Rodgers hype train to open the season on Monday night. SF has owned Aaron Rodgers throughout his career. Absolutely owned him. But is it Aaron Rodgers or the Packers? Ooh, look at this. As I'm talking about this, since 2000, the loser of the Super Bowl is 5-19-1 against the spread in Week 1. So is Aaron Rodgers or the Packers worth the hype, right? We're going to find out here as the Jets travel cross-country to see what they have. I should have Flavor Flav right now talking about Don't Believe the Hype. Trent Williams is signed and ready to go, so I like the Niners at home to take out the Jets. SF minus 3.5 to close out the week. Are 35 plays enough for you this week? Yeah, I know it's a lot, but 19 college picks and 16 more on the NFL side gives us a huge week to start firing away. All right? 20 wins are the goal this week. That's 60%. And anything more than that is just a cherry on top of the sundae. So make sure to check back next Wednesday as Stoniecast 142 is going to be coming at you. So until then, just remember that if you want to win big, you got to bet big. You can't go broke taking a profit. Scared money don't make money. For me, the action is the juice. The difference between winning and making money is that anyone can win betting chalk, but you can't make money unless you take the dogs. There's money on the streets that can't be ignored. And finally, good luck to you. Yeah, I still miss you, Gooch. My brother.
Pay him. Pay that man his money.